Hello everybody and welcome to Amphlett Reviews, back another Hong Kong content review, continuing on with the amazing Lau Kar-leung series that I'm currently doing, split between the Arrow edition box sets and the 88 film editions, which is very useful for me as a fan getting into these films, and most of his filmography is available on physical media and on these editions that I've been kind of pouring out over the past couple of years, and I've managed to kind of stockpile these, as I guess, for the appropriate time to do these kind of series of videos. And being the fact that like Shaw Brothers is such an oversaturated market, there's so many different types of Shaw Brothers movies, there's in the thousands at this point, and I'm seeing so many different types of variety of movies thanks to these editions and various box sets, different distribution teams. And it's great to see a home in on a director which is delivering really outstanding films, different types of movies, throughout his filmography, going from the early 70s, going into all the way to the 90s, and then slowly kind of fading into the kind of the early 2000s, I believe. And it's really fantastic kind of see this kind of peak at the moment with this director, and to kind of see his output, being the fact that he's delivering quite a few films within one specific year. And within 1978, I'm talking about the Shaolin Mantis, which is the next film in the library. I have already discussed previously the Execution of Shaolin. I've already discussed on the channel the 36 Chamber movies. He did do a movie within the same year, within this year, 1978, called Break Out From Opposition, I believe, which is a TV movie, not available really anywhere to really get. Saying that, there is a really low quality version you can watch dubbed on YouTube, but it is pretty terrible. It's pretty, horrible to watch, and I can't watch it that way. So maybe one down the line, if they do like, an official release, or maybe something worth checking out in terms of a HD format with the original, dialect put back in, maybe something worth watching there. But I've heard mixed opinions about that film anyway, being the fact that it was a very low budget TV movie with Gordon Liu also co-directing. So that's a very interesting kind of project that I would like to see at some point, but have no access. So skipping on that one, going from 36 Chamber movies to now the Shaolin Mantis, and I've already talked about the Heroes from the East, which is the last one, last two within the 1978 kind of release pattern. So essentially, this is the last 1978 film he released during that year for Shaw Brothers, and man, what a film to go out on in terms of a year. Whew. And of course, this one is from the 88 film editions from the Asian collection. This is spine number 32. Once you get the slipcase there, you got that there. Here we go. Just to show you the edition in case you're interested. There you go, and you get the poster on that, and you get some art cards with no booklet this time around. No kind of insightful booklet, but you do get extras. You do get the irreversible artwork, and you do get a really insightful extra talking about some of the making of audio commentary by Arden Venomer and Mike Leader. You also get audio commentary by Frank Jen, and you also get David West's kind of, basically normally extra talking about, Shaolin Mantis and the director himself, and during that kind of time frame when he was making some of these films. It's a very interesting kind of insight. So definitely worth checking out, picking up Shaolin Mantis on the 88 film edition, guys. So without further ado, let's dive into Shaolin Mantis. Shaolin Mantis released in 1978, directed by Lau Kar-leung, of course, and this one is a bit of a doozy. This is a dark movie. This is a bit of a drastic change compared to some of the other previous ones that I've talked about already on the channel. And it's interesting because Lau Kar-leung definitely can do dark subject matters. He can definitely go into the kind of the more grittier kind of, takes on these kind of storylines and these characters and dynamics, but he can also do interesting kind of comedy, whether it's full slapstick, whether it's kind of more intelligent kind of, banter kind of thing. And it's really fascinating. He did Shaolin Mantis and Heroes from the East within the same year, well, at least came out within the same year anyway, because both are quite similar movies. And jumping off from the recent Palme trilogy I was done with the Execution of Shaolin, that also kind of folds into this film. There's a lot to talk about within this film, within the film itself and the subject matter outside it, because it's a much darker storyline compared to what I was expecting going into it. It's the first initial act of the film is essentially of a slow kind of burn, kind of drama. Essentially, you've got this idea of David Chan's character, which is a been trading for a very, very long time. He has been given a specific order from the new kind of dynasty, essentially. Hey, go and find out where the rebels, the remaining rebels' names are, essentially, from the old kind of Ping dynasty, who want to restore the old kind of ways. You've got 12 months to basically find this list, infiltrate the family, find the list. Within 3 months, your father will get demoted. Within 6 months, your father will get arrested alongside your family. And then within 12 months, your entire basically family and clan will get executed because you haven't basically obeyed your kind of new dynasty emperor's kind of demands and kind of wishes, essentially. So he demonstrates his kind of skill set within the opening of the film, which is quite important because it shows how much he's been training for many years by his father. There's a very brief cameo by Gordon Liu, which is quite cool. I imagine that guy's very, very tired from doing the 36 Chamber movie within the same year and with other movies as well alongside it, I imagine. So nice to get a little quick cameo where he's playing another Shaolin monk. It was quite fun. And basically he gets kind of sent off to go and infiltrate this family, and basically he becomes a teacher, and he kind of falls and has a connection with this granddaughter of the master of the house, essentially. And what's interesting about the film, and one thing I want to discuss about it, is how it takes its time to really build up the kind of not only the drama, the tension, but also the high stakes the film really goes for, because you're not too sure what the film's ultimately going for necessarily. Because it doesn't show the Shaolin Mantis stuff at all. It doesn't show much fighting for the first portion of the film. So you're thinking, oh, this is going to be a quite a tame film, maybe a bit more of a quieter movie potentially. And very similar to The Execution from Shaolin, and especially Heroes from the East, one of the things I loved about that film was the kind of relationship dynamic. I love the fact that you got a man and wife and two different styles of kind of, fighting in a sense. She's from Japan and he's from Hong Kong, so they got different styles, and who is best, and becomes a bit of an international incident. And similar to The Execution of Shaolin, where you've got the tiger style of boxing versus the crane style, and this one is kind of similar. You've got the shadow style boxing, and this various different levels of kind of fighting within forms weaponry, within swords, daggers, poles. Obviously Mantis fighting later on, and shadow boxing. There's all sorts of different types of techniques and different types of styles really been showcased throughout this film, but I'll get into that within a moment. But the first portion of the film is actually quite delightful and quite nice. I really like it when he takes his time a little bit to develop character work and build up relationships. And the dynamic between these two are really interesting because he is a spy gone in to basically infiltrate, and they take the appropriate measures to basically show you the different kind of how big this kind of like house is, essentially, how different rooms have different types of guards and different people patrolling them, and it's almost like levels essentially. And they take the time to show the geography of the locations, which is really important. And then they have this back and forth kind of banter relationship between the granddaughter of the master of the house and obviously David Chiang's character, which is coming there to basically infiltrate, but also teach her basically various kind of history and have a bit of kind of intelligence and life lessons. And her character from the start is very obnoxious, very rude, very kind of bratty teenager kind of attitude in a sense. Someone that, like, her granddad loves her so much, gets spoiled. She's gone through 18 kind of teachers before. He's the 19th. And, it's kind of interesting, kind of like typical, she's falling in love with him because, he's a much younger person. He's kind of treating her with a bit of respect and honor. And things start to kind of escalate towards the kind of going into the second act, where basically the family believe that he's a spy. There's no proof of that, but they said he can't leave and we're going to kill him, essentially. We're not going to leave anything to chance, pretty much. And then that turns into a kind of marriage and relationship, and basically this woman saying, I believe in this person, I love this person, I can't allow you to kill him, essentially. So she will marry him and he will stay at the house. But there's also a bit of a pressure ticking clock going on with this idea of 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, where his father potentially could be executed if he doesn't deliver the list within a certain amount of time. So that pressure is coming from that regard. So you've got kind of conflict of interest with this main character straight off the bat, with him being loyal to his father and this new dynasty, essentially, which he's kind of sworn to, versus the family and the wife that he's taken upon, and obviously really cares for and really loves and cherishes. And obviously things start to become bit more complicated as the film goes along, which is actually quite interesting. I quite like that. It's very unpredictable in how it delivers its information and its character reveals. And then it comes to this amazing second act, kind of trial based, kind of 5 challenges essentially, where he wants to leave and the everyone knows basically there's no leaving this house. There is a very strict kind of rules and security, and there's the very procedural, like, we're in this family, you know, you obey by the rules, and if you don't, then you're basically, your life is forfeit essentially. And he wants to leave, accepts the challenge, basically unknowingly, of course, and she knows what it means, and she steps up herself to basically, we're gonna leave together. So you're my husband, and I'm gonna, you know, stick by you, but not in the sense of like a demanding or kind of a manipulative sense, in the sense of, you know, she generally has changed as a character through this course of the movie, which is quite impressive, because most of that film, that transformation, is from her point of view. David Chiang's character is, we know who he is, we know his skill sets, we know his mission, but the point of view from a good portion of that film is from her, and for her dedication to her husband, which she doesn't know he's a spy. He doesn't know the level of martial arts he's capable of doing, because he doesn't display any of that on the location where he's staying. And you go through this kind of series of challenges through these kind of various kind of uncles and aunts kind of thing, and mothers, and different forms of kind of forms weaponry, from poles, from daggers, from swords, as mentioned, and they gear up and basically say, we're going to do this together, essentially, which is fucking brilliant. It's awesome. You know, very similar vibes to Heroes from the East, and similar to the kind of Execution from Shaolin, where you've kind of got really badass women characters that are not the main character necessarily, but they are stepping up, or they do something quite interesting, which drastically changes the male perspective, drastically kind of alters the protagonist's character's kind of viewpoint and his motivation, essentially. And, you know, she's great in the film. The actress who plays her is absolutely phenomenal, and she's really kind of holding her own in terms of some of those fight sequences and some of those kind of specific intense moments. And the one of the things I want to mention as well is that the music choice of the scoring is very appropriate, because it's light and fluffy. It has a very different type of scoring that I have not seen typically within most Shobu's films, where it keeps it light and fluff towards the start, and then when it gets a bit more dramatic, a bit more serious, it drastically changes to the tone of the film and tone of the scenes, which I do appreciate, and something I did notice as the film went along. Of course, the second act is fantastic, and they basically try and get out of this house, various different challenges, and alliances happen, characters come into the fight, and it becomes quite unpredictable a little bit, where, like, you know, characters are like going against their own kind of grandfather, their own masters, essentially, to basically get these two out of the house. And I don't want to say too much of what happens ultimately with the story, but a lot of escalation happens, some surprising things do happen, while under the kind of disbelief that just simply loving David Chiang's character, not knowing he's a spy, not knowing his true intentions, and other characters putting themselves on the line a little bit as well, for this couple, which there is good escalation, a good build-up, and you still got another 40 minutes to go in the film, essentially. You still got another good third act to go, and this is where you get the kind of the Shaolin Mantis kind of angle, which is a little bit, I would say, misrepresentation, but not really, because it's naturally kind of shown within the film why he learns that. His skill set is clearly not strong enough to take on the kind of the grandfather, the Gramps, essentially, and he basically, through the near escape, he learns this new technique called the Shaolin Mantis. He kind of learns this through watching an actual mantis kind of your movements, and he kind of puts together pieces with his own skill sets and forms this new kind of style alongside it, which is very important to kind of note, because the Shaolin Mantis idea, I've not really seen much within most kind of Hong Kong movies. It's very limitedly kind of shown. The only other time it was shown in terms of something I have seen before was in Warriors 2, where the main bad guy in that was a Shaolin Mantis kind of villain, and he basically did this kind of the skill sets in that, with also a film which heavily is showing the kind of skill set of Shaolin Mantis also within Wing Chun as well. Funny enough, though, the writer of this film also did Warriors 2. He wrote that film and also did my personal favorite Shobu's films, Killer Constable. So he is responsible for two fantastic, excellent Shobu's films that really demonstrates a real attention to detail within the storyline, the characters. And as mentioned, he learns the style and basically goes back for basically vengeance, essentially. And that leads to a very non-stop kick-ass level, just non-stop battery from this character, and just different kind of levels of kind of like, you know, forms weaponry work, and just relentless kind of back and forth action and hand-to-hand combat and weaponry work. And just, they look brutal, they look fast, they're quick, big long takes, you know, involving not just within 2 people, but 3 people, 4 people can get involved, different levels of timing, and it's just incredible to actually watch and to see the level of dedication of these actors really kind of throw themselves with. Final act with this kind of awesome little suit he's kind of created, Mantis style kind of fighting, and it's a really kind of personal, really kind of brutal third act kind of fight, which is kind of just dark, nasty, you know, and it's great. It's really kind of, you know, really gets you into those kind of moments, which all lead to a very dark ending, which I won't reveal and I won't go into here, but it's very, very drastically different compared to something like Heroes of the East, where that has a much more kind of sympathetic, more happier ending. This one, not so much. So he's kind of done both kind of flip side coins within 2 separate movies with 2 kind of similar ideas. So that's been my thoughts and opinions on Shaolin Mantis, guys. Please comment down below. What are your thoughts and opinions on this entry? What is your favorite of Lau Kar-leung's 1978 kind of releases? Do you think this one is better than maybe Heroes from the East? Do you think First Exchange movie was the better one of this? Very curious to see what your thoughts and opinions are, guys. Please comment down below. So meantime, guys, I'll see you on the next one. This is Amphlett Reviews. So bye.